Hey, this is the Budman, and you're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando. Now to our studio and your host, local real estate expert and my friend, Laura Peterson.
Good morning, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So we are right in the throes of the holiday season, right? So I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and a profitable Black Friday when you were going out there finding all those bargains. And we're in the middle of it because, you know, we have Cyber Monday coming up tomorrow. And then after that, we have, Giving Tuesday. So this is a heavy-duty time of year with all the holidays and everything. And so when you're looking at that, I'm going to go over the stats here in a minute. But generally, this month or this time of year, if you're out there looking at houses, there's a few less houses that sell in January than there does any of the other months of the year, and that's because everybody's busy with all the holiday things that are going on and everything. And so as a result of that, the numbers just go down a little bit because people are busy doing other things. So if you're a buyer, I think it's a great time for you to be out there looking because you don't have a whole lot of competition is basically what's going on now. So that's kind of a nice thing to be different than a few years ago. And the numbers came out, for what happened in October, which I know is almost a month ago, but just looking at all of them, I thought that it was worth noting, going over what's gone on in Central Florida in real estate in the last 3 years. So first of all, we're going to look at the interest rate. The interest rate in 2021 on average was 3.01 in October. In 2022, it was 6.95, and in 2023, it was 7.77 for October. So really up less than a point from 22 to 23, but from 21 to 22 went up significantly, right, from 3.01 to 6.95. So that was the big thing. When you're looking at the inventory, the number of months of inventory in 2021 was 0.91 months of inventory. In 2022, it was 2.62 months of inventory and then 3.22 in 2023. Now, the real interesting thing to me on that is actually the number of properties that are going on the market. The new properties going on the market with 0.91 months of inventory back in 2021, there were more houses going on the market then than there are now. So I thought that was really interesting because in new properties going on the market in 2021, there were 3,940 and then 3,041 in 22 and 3,456 in 23. So there were more properties going on the market actually in 2021 than there are today. So there were more houses that were selling in 2021 because the interest rates were so fantastic. So that was kind of what the scoop was there. The number of properties that were going under contract and then closing, basically when it comes to, there was a report out on that this week. So under contract in 2021, there were 5,140 and 3,760 closed. So that's quite a difference between the number going under contract and closing. In 2022, it was 2,915 versus 2,716, not too far off. And then in 2023, it was 2,900 versus 2,429. So basically, this is always a challenge, in my opinion, when you're looking at what's going on in Central Florida in real estate. The number of properties going under contract should pretty much be the same number that are selling, right? And unfortunately, there's quite a big dichotomy. There was a big report out that Orlando is number 3 in the country in that, and properties falling apart. And I was on, Good Morning Orlando earlier this week. And basically the bottom line, in my opinion, is that the reason that happens is more because of inspection than anything else, or if people were not pre-qualified when they went under contract. So those are probably the two main reasons why that happens, and both of them are unfortunate, but something that we have to deal with. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I wanted to really mention a little bit more when we were talking about those properties that fall apart. So basically when it comes down to it, 5140 versus 3760 in 2021 and 2900 versus 2429 in 2023. Is that a lot of times it's like when people go under contract, they haven't done their homework yet. So you have to do your homework before you go under contract, knowing that the people are pre-qualified, that they can afford the home. And then the other thing that we do is we have a certified pre-owned home. And so that's going to really eliminate any of the title issues or eliminate any of the inspection issues for the most part when you have a certified pre-owned home. So that's something that we offer, that basically we do the inspections in advance. We do the title searches in advance. We do advanced advertising and that kind of stuff. So those houses get more money and they don't fall apart. So two great things in regards to what's going on. When you're looking at the median prices, and this is houses, condos, everything all together. When I'm talking on a week-by-week basis, we're just talking about, everything independently, but this is all put together. And the median price of everything all together in 2021 was $325,000. In 2022, it was $365,000. And then in 2023, it's $377,000. So, like I'm always saying that the market is not decreasing. We're kind of holding our own. And basically between 22 and 23, we just went up $12,000, from 365 to 377. So that definitely is holding its own when you're looking at it. So I think that that's really an important thing for everybody to know and everything, when you're out there looking and all of that kind of good stuff. So it's really the market is holding its own. And so that's kind of, there's not as many properties selling, but there are the properties that are selling, the values aren't falling down. Now there are sellers concessions given on, I believe it's 37% of the properties are giving seller concessions. At 34.3 were actually seller concessions. Sorry about that. And 35.7 in 2022. So the number is pretty much the same from this year over last year. So I thought that was interesting as well. So real quickly, going over our stats from week to week. In the last 7 days, single family homes, there were 448 of them that sold. The median price is $441. So still really good. 42 days to contract and 97.28 from list to ask price. When you're looking at condos, there were 134 of them that sold. The median price of them was $286.5, and they're going at 97.9% of asking. So when you're looking at, under 250 in this market, there were 31 houses and 51 condos. 250 to 300, 29 houses and 19 condos. Between 300 and 400, 115 houses and 43 condos. 400 to 500, 134 houses and 4 condos. Between a million plus, there were 30 houses and 1 condo. So that kind of gives you a real down and dirty, look at the market. It's, still great for sellers and good for buyers, in my opinion, too. And I'll talk more about that after the break. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I think is probably our biggest challenge in the real estate market today is the interest rate and the mortgages. And there has been a little bit of relief in pressure in that recently. That last month in October, they were saying that the rate is kind of sitting at 7.74, I believe it is, at 7.77. And, now it's down to 7.44, the last thing that I saw. And, it changes on a daily basis, on an hourly basis or whatever. But they have seen for 2 weeks in a row that it looks like it's going down a little bit. And so as a result of that, it's like we're always talking about, marry the house and date the rate and all of that kind of good stuff. And so you can always refinance later. You can buy down the rate and all of that kind of thing. And I think that for a seller, in my opinion, the best thing that they can do if they're looking for somebody that's going to, be getting a loan on their house, and every property doesn't need to get a loan on it. I mean, as I mentioned, I think last week or whatever, is that about 40% of our market is actually cash. So those people do not need to have a mortgage, so the interest rate doesn't really affect them too much. But the first-time buyer, obviously, they need a loan, and a lot of people do need loans. And so, in our market, there is a huge amount of people that are getting sellers concessions, on that are helping with closing costs or buying down the rate or whatever. And 34.3% are getting seller concessions in today's market versus 35% last year. So, with both markets, the interest rates were both quite a bit higher. And so the buyers are needing a little bit of help in order to afford the home and to get into it. So, when you're looking at what the builders are doing out there, which is what I look at all the time, and they basically are now offering great interest rates on houses that are almost done. If you're going to go into a builder and get a property that you're going to build from scratch, they're not doing that at this point in time, but they are for the properties that are in inventory. And the good news is, for those of you that are looking for a new build and you want to get it closed by the end of the year, and there's a few reasons why you would want to do that. But if you want to get it closed by the end of the year, a lot of the builders are big corporations. And so they need to make that financial statement look really good, and they don't want to sit with inventory on their books. So there are, a lot of times sales that are going on this time of year for builders because they're in a rush to get them done all the time by the end of a quarter, but especially at the end of whatever their fiscal year is, which a lot of times is December 31st. So basically, when it comes down to it, you might want to go ahead and, pick up one of those houses. They are offering fantastic interest rates. And if you've got a $300,000 loan, a 1% change in interest rate is about $200 a month. So if you take $200 a month times 12 times 30 years, that ends up being a lot of money that you can save. Like I said, you can always refinance later and that kind of thing too. But basically, when it comes down to it, you really want to make sure that you're being smart about that. And so to be able to qualify for a house that they've bought it down. Now, what I talk to my sellers about is like, hey, let's go ahead and do the same thing that the builders are doing so that we can offer that to people and, buy down their rate so that your house stands out, above everybody else's house. So that's just one little thing that we do to make your house stand out if that's something that you want to do. But you're saying, well, 40% of the market is cash. So what are they doing? So what the builders are doing there is that some of them that I've seen there, instead of buying down the rate, they're given like $7,500 off is what one builder is doing on the price. to compensate the cash buyer, for not getting that buy down and that kind of thing. So basically, when it comes down to it, there are all kinds of deals out there when it comes to new construction, and something that you might want to consider at this time of year. So if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So another reason that you might want to get going and buy your home now and close by the end of December. And so if you do want to do that, if you're paying cash, you can close within a week. You can close within days most of the time. There are, if it's in a homeowners association, sometimes you have to wait a little bit longer. But basically, you can do it pretty quick. You can do it in a week for sure. And if you're getting a loan, then we have some lenders that can get things done in a couple, 3 weeks. So you do have time to buy a house by the end of the year. And if it is your primary residence and Florida is your state, that's the state where you live and your license and all of that kind of stuff is, and it's going to be your primary residence, then you need to be closed by the end of December in order to get homestead for 2024. So, that's why there's usually a big push as well to close a lot of properties in December, is so that you can get that homestead for 2024. So in order to get homestead, you have to be closed by the end of the year, and then you have to apply for it before March 1st. So during January or February, you can apply for it, and it's just basically proving that it is your primary residence. And then what that does is it kind of locks in the amount that the property taxes can increase every year, and you get a discount as well, which ends up being, around $750. It definitely is not that exactly, and it varies a little bit, in regards to what it is, but that's basically what happens. So if you get it closed, in December versus January, then that's a big thing that's there for homeowners, that homestead. So if you have bought a house in 2023 or sometime in the past, then definitely go ahead and apply for homestead now so that you have it for 2024. Like I said, you have to do it by March 1st, but you can do it right away, and I would go ahead and do it now so that you don't have to worry about it. I was actually talking to a couple that had bought a house, 4 or 5 years ago, and they were telling me that their property taxes are kind of going through the roof. And I asked him, I said, well, don't you have it homesteaded? And I actually looked it up for them, and they don't have it homesteaded. And so, they had to go back to the county and weren't able to get it for those previous years, but at least they're set up for next year. But their property taxes have doubled, and they would not have had to pay that amount had they had their property homesteaded. So if you want to make sure, now is the time that this is when you're paying your property taxes now, that you've got until the end of November to get that 4% discount. But basically, what you want to do is that you want to make sure that you've got all of the exemptions and everything that you can get to minimize that bill. And so you want to make sure that you apply for homestead today so that you've got it for next year. And if you're looking to purchase a home soon, I would suggest that you do it in in December, so that you've got that homestead starting right off the bat in January. And so it's really important, to do that and to make sure that you've got that done. It's, it's just something that's out there for everybody, for Florida residents, to make sure that, we've got our taxes in the best possible form. And then there is such a thing as portability and everything from one house to the next. And so you just need to look at that. It's a county by county thing. Again, you can call the county. They can tell you what's portable and what's going to happen with that. And that's the best way to get that all figured out. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we will see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I wanted to go over a little bit in regards to the profile of the buyers and sellers for 2023, and I found that it was pretty interesting. Basically, in the face of high interest rates and rising home prices, the typical buyer's income rose 22% to $107,000. So that basically is the household income that is, and it was at $88,000 the year before. So I think that comes into the affordability. Now, these are national in regards to what's going on. A lot of the things that I talk about here are local, but this is kind of what's going on nationally. But it's not too much different than what's going on here. Our prices have gone up slightly and everything, but basically, that's what it comes down to. So the affordability has made it so that is the price that people have to be earning to purchase a home. But the good news is that about 32% of the sales are first-time buyers. So I thought that was great. And that's up from 2022 that only 26% were first-time buyers. So there are more first-time buyers, but part of the reason is that there aren't as many multiple offer situations and everything out there. So that's a good news when it comes to that. When you're looking at the typical age for first-time buyers, it's 35 years old is the typical, and then repeat buyers is 58 years. And so that's down just a little bit 1 year from the year before, because it was 36 versus 35 a year ago and 59 versus 58 now. So 1 year younger is basically what's going on. So basically, when you're looking at the household composition, there were 70% of the home purchases right now did not have a child under the age of 18 in the home. In 1985, only 42% of the people that bought homes did not have a child under the age of 18. So basically 3 out of 5 were couples that were purchasing the home. And so 49% of them were married, and then the other 9% or whatever were not, that were unmarried, that were couples buying. And then single female buyers were 19%, and single male buyers were 10%. So that was interesting. 14% of the properties purchased were multi-generation homes, and the top reasons for doing so were taking care of aging parents, to save money and accommodate children or relatives over the age of 18 who were moving back home. And so I thought that was interesting. Now, the racial diversity, I think this is very interesting as well, and kind of surprised me a little bit, that 81% of the sales were white Caucasian, 7% were Hispanic Latino, 7% were Black or African American, 6% were Asian or Pacific Islander, and 6% were identified as some other race. So that's basically interesting. 1 out of 10 buyers were born outside of the U.S., up from 8% the year before. So 1 out of 10 were born outside of the U.S. Now, I would like to see more Americans buying houses and everything. I don't have a problem with any of the foreign nationals buying them, but I just think that home ownership is something that, everybody should strive for. It makes it more stable. You don't have to worry about the everything changing, and you can do a lot more things to your house. So I'm a big proponent of owning your own home, and I think it's awesome when you can do that. Basically, the distance from home, the median distance between the home recent buyers purchased in the home where they came from was 20 miles. So that's a difference as well, that last year it was 50 miles in 2022. And but the previous norm was always 15 miles. So the pandemic caused it so people moved farther away because they were working a lot more from home. We're getting much more away from working from home. And so now those stats are changing back to where people are, again, getting closer to work and that kind of stuff. 80% of buyers financed their home purchase, up from 78% the year before. And it was 87% 2 years ago. But in Central Florida, if, the recent stat is 40% of the houses that are being sold are cash. So that's institutionals or people coming in from other places that are obviously doing that. So the people that are buying the homes to live in them, 80% of them are financing it, and the other 20% are cash. So I think that shows that there's probably another, I don't know what the figure is. It's over 20% then of investors and that kind of thing that are coming in the market with cash. But if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So when you're looking at the people that financed, the typical down payment for first-time buyers was 8%, and that's the highest since 1997. That was 9%. So the typical down payment for repeat buyers was 19%, and that's the highest since 2005 when it was at 21%. So I think that shows really that there are a lot of second-time buyers that actually, or not second, but repeat buyers that basically, when they've sold their current house that they're in, they've had quite the gain. And so they've actually been able to put quite a bit more down, and they have done that. So that's been pretty interesting. In securing down payments, first-time buyers increased their reliance on their financial assets this year using the sale of stocks or bonds. 11% did that. 401ks or pensions, 9% did that. IRAs did 2%. And cryptocurrency, 2%. So that's out there a little bit. Basically, in regards to what's going on, I know that a lot of people think that it's a lot more than that, but it really isn't. So when you're looking at it, I think that, when it comes down to, is buying a home right for you? I think that's something that is different for everybody, that you have to really look at it. But, I always like to sit down with people and look at what your options are and see what's the best thing that's going to be here for you. Does it make sense for you to purchase a home, or does it make sense for you to rent? I mean, if you're just trying out the area, sometimes it's better to rent, because then you're not going to be caught into it. But, based on if you are making this your permanent residence, then it's definitely the thing to do. And if it's like you're going to be coming from, one house to another area and that kind of stuff, there might be tax implications that make more sense for you to purchase as well. And basically, when it comes down to it, with looking at our market overall, when I was talking earlier in the show, when the median price of all properties in Central Florida in 2021 in October was $325,000. Then in 2022 it was $365,000. So it had a nice jump there. And then in 2023, even with the economy being what it is, with all the inflation and all that kind of good stuff, we still went up to $377,000 as our median price overall. So that's condos, townhouses, everything all together. The median price of a single family home right now this week was $441,000. So it's a little bit higher. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break.
You're listening to Central Florida Real Estate Radio with local expert and my friend Laura Peterson. And now, here's Laura.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I wanted to talk, I saw this article on solar panels and everything, and when it comes to real estate, it's a little bit different maybe than it is if you're thinking that you're going to be in your home, for a long period of time. And, the whole solar panels, although they've been around for quite some time on housing and how it all works out, is just something to consider and to ask the questions and everything like that. There was a solar panel guy in my neighborhood recently, and and I said something to him, and he said, no realtors like solar panels. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that he said that. And I think that it's because, it's like when you're looking at the whole big picture, you've got to see, how all the pieces fit together and everything like that. Now, we've sold a lot of houses with solar panels, and we've sold a lot of them without. And basically, when it comes down to it today, when you're looking at it and how it affects the value is really what we have to see. And basically, it's kind of like a pool, in my opinion. It's like some people want them and some people don't. And then it's not as clear on solar panels in regards to how they're going to appraise and how all that fits into place. Now, I've read a lot of stuff online and that kind of stuff, that the appraisers, that they depreciate them just like, you would depreciate any other asset. And so they give them like a 30-year life, 25-year life, somewhere in that range. And then it's depreciated based on how many years are left that it can give that value. Now, the biggest thing in this market, when everything is so price sensitive on what people qualify and all of that kind of thing, because of the interest rates and everything, that only 37% of the people qualify to buy houses to begin with. So that makes it more difficult if there's that extra asset on there, that everything else in that neighborhood might be going for a little bit lower, and then a house with solar panels has to bring in 30, 40, 50,000 more than the other houses because of the price of those solar panels. So if you're planning on selling your house soon, I would just look at all of the things that are involved in solar panels to see if it makes sense and everything in regards to, what's going on. So first of all, the thing that you need to look at is, are they owned or are they leased? There are companies out there now that will lease solar panels to you. And we recently sold a house that did have them leased on there. And in the lease, it was that owner, when they sold the home, that the company that had leased them to them told them that they were willing to take them out at any time. It just depended on what the new owner wanted to do. If the new owner wanted the solar panels, then it was okay. If the new owner didn't want the solar panel, then they could remove them. And it ended up that the new owner wanted them because they were leased. It really didn't affect the value at all. But the, electrical bill was kind of built in. They knew what it was going to be and everything because of it. And so that ended up being a good thing in that particular situation. So knowing whether they're owned or leased is the first question that you need to ask when it comes down to it. Then if you do own them, are they financed? So, we've sold properties that had the solar panels that were completely paid off. And then we've sold properties that the solar panels still had a balance on them. And so that's something that obviously that note had to be paid off before, before the the new owner could take over. And sometimes they say, well, you could, refinance it. But if it's a lien on the property, it has to be paid off, because if they're getting a new loan, then basically, that lien holder, the new mortgage company is going to want to be first in line, and they're not going to allow a solar company to be in front of them, when it comes to, value of the house. So you have to really look at that and figure out how all that's going to be worked at and what's going to happen. And so basically, when it comes down to it, it just makes sense to really look at the whole big picture when it comes to solar. What are you planning to do, and how long are you planning on being there when and all of that kind of stuff. And so, it just has to make sense, dollars and cents, and all of that kind of stuff. And we do have companies that we work with that do put solar and everything on there. Obviously it works out great for some, but it's not something for everybody. So I think it's just something that, you need to look at the whole big picture and what you're planning on doing when you're making that decision, looking at the long term. But that's with any kind of, improvement that you're going to do at the house. Is it something that you're going to enjoy, or are you just doing it for the fact of selling the house? So in order to get in touch, if you're just joining us, you're listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm your host, Laura Peterson, your home sold guaranteed realty. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio with you every Sunday at 8 a.m. If you want to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I think that when it comes down to it, it's like really looking at your housing from the standpoint of what's going to be the best for you and your family. I mean, that's basically what the bottom line is, right? And so knowing what all of your options are, I mean, that's what we're really here for, is to help you look at all of the things that are out there for you to see what's the best bet for you in regards to, you ultimately are going to make the decision, but looking at all of the factors might be, if you do it this way, you're going to put 10,000 more in your pocket versus if you do it that way or something like that. So there's all kinds of things out there that we can help you with. If you're interested, just give us a call and we're happy to sit down and talk to you at any time. But I'm going to talk now about our house of the week. And this house is actually over by the airport. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,767 square feet at $359,900. So for a single family home, way below the median price of $441 at $359,900. So this is a great house. It's definitely has new flooring throughout. It has, a new kitchen and everything in it with stainless steel appliances. Everything is beautiful and it's very accessible. So like I said, it's over by the airport. It's right off of Boggy Creek, very close to 528. And so you can, get down to 417 if you want to get over there or anything like that. I talk about major roads, but you're right there off of, Orange Avenue and Sand Lake and everything. It's really close to that area. Over there, or Boggy Creek and Sand Lake is basically, where it's at. But a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that everything is in great condition for $359,900 is something that you don't want to, pass up. And it's vacant. So basically, it's available to get closed by the end of the year, so you can get that homestead deduction. Like I said, they did a lot of remodels in there. One of the things that they did is they took down one of the walls, so it's a very open floor plan, and it actually has room in the back. With this homeowners association, which is only $1,524 a year, they do take care of the cable TV, the lawn maintenance, and of the exterior in the front and everything. And so for $1,500 a year for cable and lawn in the front of the yard, you're not going to be able to beat those prices anywhere else. So that's a great deal. So if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to give us a call and we'll get you all the details or a private showing or whatever works for you. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we hope you have a great one. Finish the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend and have a great day. See you next week. Bye-bye.